Hey everybody, this is Cameron from Obnoxious Anonymous, and welcome to the Twin Peaks Thought of the Day for Friday, June 2nd, 2017. My guests today are Hal. Thank you very much for joining me again.
Hello.
And over here we have Frank, once again joining me. It's always a pleasure to have you as well.
Nice to be here, Cam. Thanks. Hi, everyone.
So before we get started, I just want to give out a little plug. Frank's a little shy about this, but he's been doing his own Twin Peaks podcast for a while, and he's actually been interviewing a lot of actors from the show, both the original show and the new show. Can you tell me just a little bit about it?
Yeah, the most recent one I did, I sent you the link. They're actually, what I put down is edited like small segments of the interviews I did. The interviews with each actor was a lot longer than that. But I just wanted to get these kind of like talking heads type thing with me linking the names so people who knew who they were, and just get like their reactions to their time on the original series if they worked on it, and their reactions to the new series. This was prior to it being, the first episode going out. I wanted to get something out before then. So it just kind of whet people's appetites for the new series, and see how excited the actors were, as much as the fans, and get their kind of spin on it. I know they couldn't reveal anything, but it was just nice to hear them talk about it and how much they enjoyed working with David and so on,
So who are some of the actors you've talked to so far?
I interviewed Chris Mulkey, Kimmy Robertson, James Marshall, a couple of new cast members, but we have no idea when they're going to be in it or who they are yet. And there's a young actress called Kelsey Bolan and an actor called Sean Bulger, who's appeared in lots of part, TV as like a supporting character. He's done a lot of work on TV. Brett Vadsit, who played Joe Paulson, people like that. He doesn't do many interviews. So there's a real nice mix. There's about 8 or 9 people on there. And it's about half an hour long. It's just, I've underscored it with some of Badalamenti's music underneath just to give it some mood,
Sure.
So yeah, that's the most recent one I've done. I've done obviously there's full interviews out there of some of these actors anyway as well. So you can,
So where is the easiest place for the viewers of this podcast to find them? You say you have a Facebook page, right?
Yeah, I do, and it's called. I don't know the actual link address, but it's Facebook. I suppose it's facebook.com/Live from the Roadhouse Podcasts, or one word.
Live from the Roadhouse Podcast.
Yeah.
All right.
Podcasts plural or singular?
I think it's podcasts plural. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that sounds amazing. I mean, thank you for sharing that with us. I mean, I know you're a little shy because you didn't want to come on here and kind of,
No, it's definitely not my intention.
No, but you know what? I love it. The fact that you've been like doing these like secret little podcasts on the side and probably have some amazing material in it.
Yeah, I want to hear the Joey Paulson when we did a Joey Paulson tribute on one of these shows recently.
He's become actually a very fast friend of mine. It's amazing sometimes you connect with certain actors or people in the profession and they become more than just an actor and a fan talking. They become friends. And me and him get on very well. We Skype sometimes. There's a few others I get on very well. Oh, another one is Annette McCarthy, who played your favorite Cam, Evelyn Marsh. But as an actress, as a woman, as a friend, she's a sweetheart.
Right.
So that, you get a different spin on things. As a person, she's beautiful, and I get on very well with her, and we chat sometimes, and so there's a few of them that I get, that you connect very well with, and they become more than just an actor in a series that you liked,
Sure.
and that's really nice when you have that relationship built,
Well, I'm sure after talking about these, a lot of people are going to be checking out your podcast. So that's
very nice of you. Thank you.
So, Frank, you haven't been on here since last Sunday, or 2 weeks ago, actually. So,
yeah.
What do you think of the new season so far? The first 4 episodes of the new Twin Peaks. What's your viewpoint on everything?
Oh wow! I mean,
yeah, boil it down to just a few words.
Give us a soundbite, Frank. 4 hours.
How the hell can you describe Lynch in a few words? Jesus.
10 words or less, Frank. Come on.
I could do like a condensed, like Twitter 140 character version.
There you go.
But no, I mean, one word sums it up. It was amazing. Wow, there's so much to take in. I don't know how many times you've watched it since, but I've probably watched it about 4 times each episode since.
Right.
And I'm still trying to decipher a lot of it, you know. And
are you in the same boat as me though, that the more you watch an episode, actually the better it gets?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And it's not I mean, I'm not trying to kiss the show's ass, but it's amazing, right? I mean, it's like the first time you see it, you like it, or maybe you're just kind of a little like off-putted about some of it, and then you watch it again, you go, oh, I'm not off-put at all. This actually makes sense. And then you watch it the next time and you go, oh, this is flowing even better. Then you watch it one more time and you're like, oh, this is brilliant. I mean, it's just
it hangs together really well. It's funny too, because I watched it, and then a couple nights later I turned on my TV and it was still on Showtime, and it was starting again. It was like 5 minutes into episode 3 or whatever, and I go, I'll watch the first couple minutes, and pretty soon it's 2 hours later I've watched it all again, and it's like, wow.
Yeah, that's the weird thing. Is like the more you watch it, the quicker it seems to go by, doesn't it?
That's true.
Yeah.
So it's over already.
The Wally Brando scene moves faster and faster with every viewing.
Yeah.
That's not a knock on the first time, because some people have written in saying, I've liked the Wally Brando scene from, the first time I watched it. And, I'm just saying, the first time you see it, you're a little bit like, wow, I wasn't expecting this scene in this show, but, and of course, then the more you see it, obviously, the more you enjoy all the subtle details of the whole thing. So
to me, it's funny, the Wally Brando thing, because I liked it the first time, but I think part of the reason why I liked it is because I didn't have any Michael Cera preconceived notions. I don't even think, what show was he in? Arrested Development or whatever?
Yeah, but he's been in a bunch of movies.
Okay, but I know now that I've seen him in other movies because I kind of looked at his bio, but at the time I'm like, who's Michael Cera? I didn't really care. And I wonder if Lynch is the same thing, like where Showtime said, well, if you're going to get people to play new roles, let's get some name actors, and he was agreeable to that. But I doubt if David Lynch watched Arrested Development or whatever. He probably just went, right. So he probably just went, we need to show Andy and Lucy's kid. Here's a guy we can put as a marquee name because people know him. I'll cast him as that because he's right for the role. And, it doesn't seem weird. Like, some people are so much accusing Lynch of like, oh, well, he's just putting Michael Cera in. Like, it's some cynical move, like to just, I don't think it's that at all from Lynch.
And Michael Cera is not a box office actor,
It's just a guy in the role, I mean, you want to see Andy and Lucy's kid. He had to put that in there somehow, I thought it was perfect.
Right. That's so
I love that scene. It grows on me more and more I watch it. I find it very, very funny.
Exactly.
It's
so
almost pathos.
So Hal, you were talking about that that it was the new Twin Peaks was on Showtime again, and is obviously you want to check it out again. I just want people to know that as of today, the first 2 episodes are available on the Twin Peaks YouTube channel for free. Now, I've been told that some people outside of the U.S. might have trouble accessing them, so maybe it's just a U.S. thing. But I guess if you are in the U.S., they are available. But I do want you to know that the spoilers, if you haven't seen it, I don't know what you're doing watching this podcast if you haven't seen it yet, but the nudity has been blackened out, sort of like Kubrick's Eyes Wide Shut. And
I noticed that Showtime was quick to point out that these videos have been edited by David Lynch, so they would avoid the backlash of people saying, how dare you black out David Lynch's art,
But it's funny because Clone Commandos 101 wrote in and said, Showtime even had, or David Lynch, had the audacity to censor the statue from the Red Room. So that to me says it's kind of like an in-joke, I think. I think for them to go that far...
Right. I think that's why Kubrick used the black boxes. It was so absurd that you want us to black out somebody's, soullessly pumping butt. It was not meant to be such a sexual scene, really. It was kind of to show the soullessness or the hollowness of that orgy scene. That he just said, okay, fuck it. If you're going to make me censor, I'm not going to edit. I'm just going to put black boxes on because it's absurd.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty funny, but yeah, but it's still great because I know a lot of people don't have Showtime or can't afford it, and this is a way to at least see the episodes, at least the first 2, before it hits DVD or Blu-ray later this year. I'm gonna assume it's gonna be like a November or December release. They're gonna want to just get these out for Christmas.
Yeah,
But really,
they
really,
get about quick. Yeah,
it's the let's emphasize it. That's the last resort way to watch it, because it's edited, which is not that consequential, but it's also not in high def. You don't have the great sound. I mean, if you have to watch it that way because you're just curious and you want a taste of it, okay, check it out. But honestly, you need to just get Showtime and watch it the way it was intended.
Do you think Showtime is gonna? I doubt it, right? I mean, you don't think they're gonna put all the episodes up?
I think it's just a teaser. It's like kind of a loss leader, they call it, to bring you into the store, and then hopefully you get hooked on it,
Maybe. I don't know how they do that. That's quite unusual as well. That's another new thing they've experimented with.
Right.
They put it on YouTube. Like, I don't think any other shows have done that, have they? Is that a new thing?
No.
Free previews. I don't know if other shows have done it or not. It's not a bad marketing ploy, but I don't see them putting each episode out.
And Showtime doesn't usually do this. This is kind of a, it was a drug dealer thing. If give them a first taste for free, then maybe
exactly. Because they know people are talking about it, and friends, people are perking their ears up, going, "Well, I hear all this scuttlebutt about Twin Peaks." So I think it's a good marketing ploy, but I think it's only that, and that's really, like I said, not the way to watch the show.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So, there's a bunch of stories here, and I'm going to mix it up with a bunch of messages that I've gotten over the last few days so we can discuss all this. And I just want to say thank you so much for all your comments and your questions and your theories. It's so wonderful to read all of these below in the videos, or a lot of you guys actually email us. And that's wonderful too. It's so great to hear from you guys. And, while there may be negative aspects of any fan community, I have to say that the fan community that circulates around these videos are absolutely wonderful. The people just come up with the most amazing stuff. And so I truly thank you for all that. It's making an experience that I actually was kind of dreading, the new Twin Peaks coming out and the social media kind of thing. I was dreading it. I was thinking, oh my God, it's going to be just chaos. And it might be on other pages, but at least with my page and my channel, it's been absolutely wonderful. And you guys have been just great. So thank you.
I appreciate your positive groove on the discussion here, Cameron. So thanks for keeping it positive here.
Another beautiful thing as well, I think you've spoken about this before, Cam, is that the fans have been very, very good and gracious about not spoiling anything when they got the episodes dropped in Italy and Germany. I didn't see any spoilers coming out anywhere.
Are you referring to the first two episodes?
Yeah, but also they dropped episode 5 in Germany as well.
Yes, they did.
Yeah, and I didn't hear anything about that, and there's no spoilers about that anywhere.
Right. I mean, they dropped 1 through 4 in Italy that first day, and I gotta tell you, maybe on other pages someone said something, but I never saw anything online, and I cruise online for information, so so it was absolutely.
I got a few Peaks fans that come from those countries, and they kept it scum, and I thought that was amazing.
Yeah,
and I tip my hat to them for that.
Yeah, I mean that doesn't usually happen for other shows, so.
No. In this day and age, especially, you wouldn't expect it. Yeah.
Right. All right, so let me bring up the first message here. This is coming from Kyle LeBrock. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. He would like us to touch on Jade, right? And he'll explain. Jade is the color of the Owl Cave ring. Jade, the prostitute, the African-American woman, gave 2 rides. Companion guides Cooper, Dougie, and tells them to call for help. Jade and Emerald are on invitation to love. And wasn't
the 2 rides reference to the fact that she just banged him? That was ride number 1. Now she's got to drive him home.
Yeah, I think it's like a nickname.
Yeah. But I do like this idea that the ring is that color. Jade and Emerald, invitation to love. I don't know if this is going to play a big role in everything, but Frost and Lynch really love to have these just little connections everywhere in their shows. And who knows? Maybe that is something really interesting to investigate further, or it just could just be one more little tidbit just to kind of, nugget in there, just to have the fans enjoy more things. I don't know.
I immediately, when they said her name was Jade, I went, okay, where's Emerald? So that it hit me like that too. So
it might be a sister we might see later on.
Exactly.
Song Aid, a frequent viewer that writes in a lot of wonderful stuff. He writes, or she writes, I don't know, says, I've been dwelling on the giant's remark of "it is in our house now." I'm thinking that the giant has interdimensional powers, and all probably doesn't live in a house similar to mine. Okay. Then I remembered they say house in astrology or horoscopes, house of Aquarius, house of Pisces. So I think house here pertains to some kind of stellar or planetary alignment. He's probably right.
I thought the same thing. Yeah, for that meaning, that astrological meaning of it. It could also mean, if you remember in Lost Highway, the burning house kind of as the interior of your being kind of thing. There's that metaphor too.
And also maybe house, lodge, another
exactly
take on that, maybe houses, lodges,
But what I love is just this show is getting people to really stretch their minds and think about all levels. Exactly. Francis Ford Coppola talks about when he was making Apocalypse Now, how there should be 47 levels to a great film.
That's right.
And I think this is operating on 47 or more levels.
I remember seeing the artist Barry Windsor Smith, who did the old Marvel Conan the Barbarian comics. He had a print with Conan and a peacock, and he went on and on showing all the things, just his print. It's just the barbarian and a peacock, but he had, like you said, 47 different levels of things that only he as the artist knew were in there, but we're in there.
Right. And then obviously they're not daring us to learn all 47 levels. They're just letting us, and I say that name just because Coppola used that phrase, but right. I mean, who knows? There could be 500,000 levels on this thing. I don't know. But I'm just saying there's going to be things that only Lynch and Frost know and will ever know. That's just a fact, right? Little in-jokes in there.
Well, Lynch says about Eraserhead, it's his most personal movie, his most spiritual movie. Everyone has tried to decode it since it came out in the 70s, and no one has got it exactly right yet from his point of view. So there you go.
Well, but why would you? I mean, his films, to me, are... you make what you make of them. Whatever you bring to them, that's what you take away. Right.
Exactly.
Obviously, there are certain things that, yes, this means this, or this plot detail means this, but they're supposed to be personal to you as well.
Right.
I mean, his whole point was to make moving paintings, things that you could hang up in your house.
And that's why it's frustrating too, when you see people, throw out theories and then people slam them for those theories as being, oh, that's crazy, or quit overthinking it or whatever. It's like in the corporate world, if you're in a meeting and everybody's brainstorming, there are no bad ideas. That's part of the fun. You should never put down a fellow Twin Peaks fan for having some outlandish theory, because that's the fun of it. We're all speculating at this point.
That's what we're doing. No opinion is more valid than anyone else. A higher or lower.
Right.
We don't know.
And there could be some things that are we may speculate on and will be entirely wrong on.
Of course.
And then, I mean, how can we not be, right? We're only 4 episodes into an 18-episode thing. I mean, who the hell knows where this thing's going to go?
Right.
I mean, episode 12 might backtrack us all the way back to the beginning, and we may have to relive the whole show again from a different point of view.
Which would be great.
Exactly.
I love it.
But it's just, but like I was saying before we started recording, these are the kind of conversations that you would have with your friends back when the original show was on, and you would talk right after the episode, throughout the week, at work or school or whatever, not just at the water cooler. And you would, it was, the idea was that Frost and Lynch wanted you to think and dream about this show until the next episode.
Yes.
And either you were proved right or you proved wrong, or maybe the episode didn't even go into what you were thinking and dreaming about. But it wasn't the fact that Twin Peaks was just on for a certain amount of weeks between 1990 and 1991. It was the fact that all of us fans that grew up when it was on lived Twin Peaks for the entire duration it was on. It wasn't just the Thursday or Saturday nights. It was the week in between. And that's what I'm trying to do with these podcasts is continue that thinking, continue that dreaming. And it doesn't matter if we're right or wrong, or we're speculating, or if none of this comes true or all of it comes true. I mean, the point is we're having fun just discussing a show that we love, and it's coming back like gangbusters.
And that's why I like when you go to the chat, Cameron, because they may not be on the video with us, but they're in the room with us, and it's cool to hear everybody chiming in, and that sparks us with comments. It's so much fun.
And that's what I love so much about doing those watch-alongs, you know, because I was telling people, like, these aren't commentaries. I'm just going to watch the episodes with all of you, and we're going to discuss it, and it's just super fun. So, all right, let's go to the next comment here. This comes from Tim Nickel, and I thought this was interesting enough to bring it up, so I want to hear what you guys think. He says, okay, this maybe is too far out. Listen, you can never go too far out.
Far out, man!
But he's talking about Mike's poem that was used in the dream, right? It was obviously it was created for the international pilot, but it was reused for Cooper's dream in the first season. And he says, I, too, have been touched by the devilish one, the tattoo on the left shoulder. And so when they come across Philip Gerard in the motel a couple episodes later, he admits that the tattoo said "mom."
Mom!
Right. Now, the first time, listen, without closed captioning, I thought he said Bob, you know, because of his friendship with Bob Lydecker, right? But obviously it is mom. But he says,
that could be mother.
Is the mom in the purple room the devilish one?
My mother. And is the lady...
It could be. There's no reason why, you know, there's no worse period in anything, you know?
Is the lady with the eyes the magician who longs to see?
Ooh.
Oh, no, you're flagging up another thing I never thought about. Yeah,
Hal,
see?
you are blowing my mind. That's fantastic. I love that.
One, yeah.
Well, you know, that woman, you know, I've gotten kind of harped on by some fans here because I refer to her a lot of the time as Judy. I don't know that officially. I just throw out her name because I'm going by the fact that Philip Jeffries was mentioned in episode 2, and then we get this woman, this Asian woman, and we know obviously from a potential sequel to Fire Walk With Me that they were going to bring in Josie's sister, who was going to be named Judy. Yes. And I don't know, I'm maybe just playing the race card here, but because, you know, it is another Asian woman, she doesn't talk. She's kind of barking or something, like making a sound similar to the parents and the grandmother that Lynch made.
It's like she's strangulated trying to communicate with Jude. So.
And so that made me think of Philip Jeffries saying, we don't talk about Judy, we're going to leave her out of it. Well, if we don't talk about it, maybe she doesn't talk. That's kind of like where I was going on. But a lot of people want to remind me, and I just want to bring this up, that she is credited in the cast list as Naido or Nado, I think. Nado, yeah. So, I mean, we don't know if that's her real name or whether that's just, you know, a fake name. But anyway, so
it's not Judy. So
it's not officially Judy yet. Just saying.
Yeah, right.
We don't.
Maybe not. Naido is Japanese for Judy.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Someone look that up.
Or I guess Joan Chen was Chinese, though, wasn't she?
Yeah. MDM writes in and says he just threw out some things that that Cooper goes in the casino for help in episode 3, that we see a glimpse of the red waiting room obviously floating above every winning machine. One of the machines that he wins at is called the One-Armed Bandit. That's interesting. Then he says, obviously, we see the one-armed man in the waiting room.
Well, all those machines with the pulls are called one-armed bandits.
Right. And then it says, the fact Cooper wins the money gets him to his house. His house has a reference address to the Black Lodge. The fact that it's on Lancelot Court and it's down the street from Merlin's Market, obviously the King Arthur reference from the final episode.
And Sycamore Street as well.
And Sycamore Street. And the side street of Sycamore Street is Little Rock, but it goes so fast it looks like it says Let's Rock. Which is really,
excellent.
Which is really funny. He says, you know, we see an owl and the door to Dougie's house is red, obviously, like the curtains of the lodge. So yeah, that's really good stuff that you're noticing.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that Rancho Rosa place is just another Twin Peaks?
I don't know. I mean, we need
in the town. I mean,
we need. I mean, obviously, we need more information or just them to answer it, because it's either
the fact that it's used in the production, the logo at the beginning shows that it has significance.
Oh, definitely. I mean, it's either, in my humble opinion, either an alternate timeline or it's in the past. But I don't think it's happening simultaneously with what's going on in Twin Peaks.
Do you think that the Rancho Rosa logo, the circle around it changing at the beginning of each episode, have you noticed that? The colors change? Do you think that has a significance, or is that a clue for us to watch for color schemes within the episode?
Well, why on earth would they be doing it if it wasn't a reason, right? And of course, on the main sign of Rancho Rosa, the 2 double R's are circled, right? Yeah. So that's obviously a sign. Some people pointed out that the Rancho Rosa sign looks a lot like, oh my goodness, I can't even remember the town in Back to the Future. Oh. No, Back to the Future.
I was thinking you were saying Lumberton.
Well, maybe Lumberton as well, but you know, because it just kind of has that old 1950s kind of look to it. But obviously, it's not the 1950s. I mean, obviously, people drive around modern cars and that type of thing. But I do think that the casino dropping coins is definitely a sign, and I don't think it's. Look, Frost and Lynch are intelligent men. Okay, they know that casinos don't drop coins anymore. So. So that's what makes, you know, that's what prompted Eric in the last podcast to think maybe it was in the past, let's say 2003, because someone brought up the fact that the license number on Dougie's car had an 03 on it. If that is what it is, I mean, who knows? Because I've went back and looked at it and I couldn't really see that. But all right, I'll go with that. But the way Dougie was dressed did not reflect 2017. But I do want to say, a lot of people are pointing out that this new series, I mean, obviously we haven't gotten an official date, but people are saying this new series takes place in 2014 because that would be the 25 years after 1989. But people are noticing a 2015 car in there as well. So again, is it future? Is it past? Is it supposed to be 2014? Or are we moving all over the place? You know, I mean, I don't think Lynch and Frost have tipped their hands at all yet.
They haven't made a specific reference to a year at all.
Right.
And a lot of times in Lynch's stuff, it is kind of a timeless, what time are we in? I mean, the original Twin Peaks was kind of like, you know, it didn't have a specific time. It has, like you said, all those 50s influences were always in there, the saddle shoes on Audrey and all that stuff. Right. So he kind of likes to make it a timeless place.
There's been inconsistencies with that year anyway, but you only have to look at Laura Palmer's diary, and it's set in 1990.
Right.
When she dies. You look at the last few entries, it says 1990 next to it.
Right. Well, that's
so there's loads of different things like that pop up all the time. It's never quite concrete as to when it is.
I think that's primarily one of the reasons why the Philip Jeffries scene was cut down, because the fact that he keeps referencing 1989. I wonder if Lynch kind of reorchestrated the events to take place later than he wanted them to, right? Because the Philip Jeffries scene in the script, believe it or not, happens right as Laura's walking to pick up Donna. So she's walking to pick up Donna. She meets up with Donna. Then it cuts to the Philip Jeffries scene, and then we cut back to Donna and her walking to school. And Lynch moved that up to prior to Cooper even going to Deer Meadow. So he changed the timeline of his own script as to when that. So I think that was probably another factor why that scene was cut down.
Also in Mark Frost's book, the timeline when Tamara receives those files is in 2016 as well. So you know that sort of knocks out some of the things we might be thinking in the actual episodes at the moment.
Right, because I honestly I hadn't even thought about what year this new show is taking place in.
I haven't really either.
I just assumed
I really think that a lot of that theory about the 2003 comes from the 3 and the 15 when Cooper escapes, right?
Right.
But
And
to
a lot
me,
of people,
that's his key number.
yeah, well, it is the key number, but how many Bob and Mikes did we get in this show?
True.
So it could mean multiple things here, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
They could have said that his room number was a prediction of things to come. You know?
True.
So who knows? But you did mention Laura's diary, so I want to bring this up. I don't know if this is who this is, but Debbie brought this up to my attention. Kimbo Hanel got in touch with Debbie and posted a picture of a page from Laura's diary. Now, I haven't been able to pull this page myself, but I do recognize this is an official page, so I can't give you the page number. But obviously, you'll know where this is if you're a Twin Peaks fanatic. So Bob says, Laura Palmer, be nice. And she writes, you never taught me that. Bob says, nice. Definition, don't be rude. She says, I'm to the point where I don't care anymore, Bob. Do whatever you need to do. And this is when Bob says, I don't need anything. I want things.
Excellent.
Okay. So that pretty much says to me that Bob is still in the doppelganger, right?
Yeah.
Now,
and it also sounds like at least Mark Frost has gone back and scoured Laura's diary for time.
Well, someone had to.
Yes.
I mean, Jennifer Lynch, in my interview with her, she flat out said, I don't think my dad ever read the diary. Because I asked her, I said, were you surprised that he didn't adapt some of your diary into Fire Walk with Me? And that's was her response was, I don't think my dad ever opened the diary.
I think, though, over the course of Lynch and Frost meeting and writing this 400-page script, though, I think they probably took into account pretty much everything, including the diary.
Right. But, that's a great point. Now, I just want to say there have been a few. Like I said, there's always some bad apples in a community. There's been a few apples that have gone after Debbie in recent days because of her theory that came across from watching a video of Doppelganger Cooper interacting with Daria and Jack in the new series where video had placed the Wyndham Earl's theme underneath it. To kind of give it a sinister vibe. And so she kind of came up with this theory of like, well, maybe Wyndham Earl is in the doppelganger because, the fact that he's looking for coordinates, he's got the metal case, and he, plops it down on the table, much like Wyndham Earl. A bunch of other things came out. It was just kind of a wild theory that she was speculating on. So I made a little video about it, just wanting to, share it out with people. Some people really gravitated towards it. Other people didn't. I was somewhere in the middle because I was thinking, well, I do think that Bob is in the doppelganger, but I think that Bob also internalized Wyndham Earl's, soul when he grabbed it. So he probably has Wyndham Earl's memories of like, when the doppelganger got out, he probably went to Wyndham Earl's cabin and grabbed his shit, and went and talked to Major Briggs and went about his life. So not necessarily that Wyndham Earl is running Doppelganger Cooper, but I think that there might be an aspect of his soul within Bob, within the doppelganger. Does that make any sense? Or
it makes sense as a theory.
Right.
What I wonder, though, is that as much as I would like to see Wyndham return and be part of this new series somehow, because it's so much a part of Coop's past, I think probably to the denizens of the lodge, including Bob, that when they took his soul, he just turned into the little gold marble and fuck him, he's gone, He's like Dougie, man. He's like Dougie. It's inconsequential to those guys.
Okay, here we go. Okay, so Leonard says the 3 on Dougie's license plate is for the month March.
That makes more sense.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Then Rosenfield 10 just comes in with the zinger here. He says every winning slot machine was 25 cents and 3 credits, 253.
Nice.
Good job.
Nice.
Do you know how many viewings that probably took to get that?
That's beautiful.
Wow, that
good one.
You guys are blowing my mind on Friday night. It's wonderful. All right, so let's get to this little topic here. A woman by the name of Misha Melikov. I'm probably mispronouncing your name. I apologize. She reached out to Debbie, and she had a video in which she compared Sam and Tracy and Cooper in the box when he shows up in the warehouse, right?
I saw that, yeah.
And she contacted Debbie about putting it on the Twin Peaks Worldwide page or having us talk about it on here. But she also sent it to the Welcome to Twin Peaks Facebook page as well. Now, me having to work all day long, I wasn't able to get to it in time. So obviously Welcome to Twin Peaks ran with it and did a bang up great job with it. But I want to address it too, because she sent it to both of us. And it's a really interesting, fascinating video. If you haven't seen it, if you haven't seen it, I'm going to link to it in the show notes below after the video is posted. Basically what it is it shows Sam and Tracy when Sam goes out to meet Tracy when she has the coffee, and then they come back in right before they get killed. And while this is happening simultaneously, when they're in the other room, that's when Cooper comes into
floating
when he kind of floats into the bubble. And then when Cooper is talking with the blind woman, she starts making these like jittery cutting sounds or cutting motions, and that is when Sam and Tracy are getting killed, and it links up really nicely.
It does. Right?
So do I think that Lynch and Frost did this on purpose? At this point, I will say it's hard not to say they didn't, but at the same time, we'll never know, because it links up so well that Lynch and Frost would say, of course we did that on purpose. You know, I mean, it works so well that even if they didn't, they'll say, oh, of course we meant that. But anyway, how, I know, Frank, you didn't get a chance to see it yet, but what did you think about this?
Well, I really I don't know that it had necessarily anything revelatory about it, but it was really cool to see it synced up that way. So when they go out of the room, Coop starts flying out of the box, and just as they come back in, that's after he disappears. It's like it's perfectly timed with their time out of the room, It's really neat to see it synced up that way. And then as far as the lady with in the room with her eyes covered, doing the slashing motions as they're getting their heads chewed off, that's an interesting parallel too. So yeah, it's fascinating to watch. Everybody should check it out and form their own opinions.
Yeah, and it's wonderful that she even thought to think like this, yes, and piece the video together. It's beautiful. Yeah. I listen. Dwayne Dunham is an expert editor. He's the one that took Blue Velvet from a 4-hour cut to a 2-hour cut, and when you watch that movie, you can't believe anything is missing. I mean, that's just how well it's edited. So, is it conceivable that this was meant to be this way? Of course. Mm-hmm. Do I think though that they were running simultaneous edit bays to time this out? I'm not sure, but if not, it's an amazing. It's too close to say, oh, they did this coincidentally. But at the same,
it wouldn't surprise me though if they did that. I mean, because they know that this is going to, needs to stand up to repeated viewings over years and all kinds of intense scrutiny. So that wouldn't surprise me at all.
And you know what's really amazing? I saw someone point this out earlier, and I'm kind of modifying it and rephrasing it. I'm sorry, but they said, how amazing is it the fact that Lynch and Frost are creating, 25 years plus, a new mystery or several mysteries within this world of Twin Peaks without relying on a body wrapped in plastic floating up onto the shore. Like they're not relying on old tricks.
Now we've got a headless woman and a disembodied male body, in the bed. That's kind of the new mystery.
Yes, it's just amazing the fact that, you know, nothing we have seen in the new Twin Peaks is anything we were expecting to see, but now that we've seen it, it makes perfect sense. So, one more.
Somebody said that, you know, the head, the female head, and the male body in the bed. You know, Bob, if Bob is responsible for that, you know, it's not this neatly wrapped in plastic female, you know, like a flower and stuff. Now it's this complete all-out brutality. You know, it's like it's nothing pretty about it at all anymore.
Right. One more comment here. This comes from Matt Gilbert. He says, "Do you think the name Dougie is a reference to Doug Puzz?"
I've heard that floated around. It wouldn't surprise me.
I haven't heard that one. Yeah, it could be.
Yeah, I mean, I just love the way the fans of the show and these videos, I love the way they think.
Of course, it could just mean Douglas Furs. Who knows?
Yeah. But, you know, remember though, in Twin Peaks, they just do a lot of references to all types of stuff. I mean, the fact that, you know, the fact that Laura's cousin was named Madeline Ferguson, right? Who came from Vertigo. The fact that, you know, Waldo Lydecker, the name Lydecker and Waldo, you know, and
Sunset Boulevard, right? Wasn't it?
And Laura, you know.
And
right.
Laura,
I mean, the fact that this, you know, movie's called Laura, and I mean, there's references through the fact that they put Russ Tamblyn and Richard Beamer together again from West Side Story.
West Side Story, and
right?
Peggy Lipton and Clarence Williams III from Mod Squad.
Yeah. So I mean, they have all these little things in there, and they mean nothing to the show, but they increase the enjoyment 110%.
Exactly.
Right. So I think we're just seeing a lot of that, and it's just, I don't know, it's just wonderful to see. I'm so happy to be back in the world of Twin Peaks, even though we're not quite in Twin Peaks yet.
It was funny. I was in Half Price Books the other day and looking through the soundtrack CD section, and I saw West Side Story, pulled out the booklet, and I'm like, hey, there's Russ Tamblyn. And, you know, it's like, hey, that's Ben Horn, man. It's so funny to see him as young guys in that movie.
Very young, aren't they? Yeah.
Yeah, and they're wonderful in that movie as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know? And, you know, I mean, listen, when I was a kid, I mean, I didn't know who Russ Tamblyn was.
Me neither.
Right? I mean, obviously now I do, but when I was, you know, 12 and 13, I didn't know who he was. Yeah. But because of Twin Peaks, it made me discover The Haunting. It made me, you know what I mean? A movie I hadn't seen. And I was a big Robert Wise fan because I like Sound of Music and, you know, some of his other movies and stuff. But, you know, I mean, being a fan of these actors made you go back and search out their other work. And I mean, I can't think of it.
Like Two Moon Junction.
No. But
to be absolutely honest, I didn't know any of the actors in Twin Peaks at the time. I didn't know any of them.
Yeah.
Like you, I discovered who they were after the fact.
Right.
Yeah, you know?
Well, I was so young, and again, I mean, obviously VHS was the king, and sometimes some video stores didn't have certain movies, so you know you're not gonna. But that's the best thing about a lot of these kind of works is that they inspire you to seek out other works as well, and then you see their influences on the show proper, you know, as well. All right, so let's talk about the endings so far of episode 2, 3, and 4, the fact that we get Roadhouse songs. The reason why I bring it up is before the show began, I had this now wrong theory. I'm not ashamed to admit that. That because of their shooting schedule with Catherine E. Coulson, and because we hadn't heard about her shooting scenes with other actors, I came up with the theory that they probably shot a bunch of Log Lady introductions, right? Because they had done the high definition transfer of those for the Blu-ray box. And I know Lynch was, you know, really pleased with them. So I thought maybe he would shoot a bunch of those and then kind of decide with the episodes, like, you know, which one would go where. Obviously that didn't happen, but so far we have seen her in 2 scenes with no actors. So obviously, I mean, we you know, there's that. But I'm almost thinking these musical numbers were maybe done like what I thought the Log Lady introductions might be. I'm thinking, and I could be wrong, I'm thinking that Lynch shot a bunch of these musical acts, picked a bunch of songs he really liked, shot a bunch of, Roadhouse scenes. No, I'm not going to say Bang Bang Bar. It's Roadhouse, damn it. Roadhouse musical scenes. And then based on the episode, decided which musical song would go at the tail end, because those songs do not interact with a scene. The end of episode 2 does. They blend in the Shelley and James stuff in there. So maybe that song was picked out. But episodes 3 and 4, there's no cross-cutting. It's just a musical performance. So, I mean, obviously, I'm just speculating here, but do you think that Lynch and Frost specifically said, okay, for episode 3, we're going to use this song, episode 4, we're going to use this song, or do you think that was probably decided while editing what song would go to which episode?
Yeah, I don't think it has anything specific to the storyline. I think it was just, it's kind of like, okay, break, it's like breaking the parts, because it is filmed as one giant movie. There's really no sort of like end of episode. So they just go, okay, break. Because if you notice between 3 and 4, Mr. Jackpots is going hello, and then they go to the song. When it plays through together as one episode, when Showtime shows it that way, they go to the song and then they cut back and it's hello, and it's back to Mr. Jackpots again. So there's really no break in the narrative except for that song, just to break up the 2 parts when they finally separate them.
Right. It's a way for them to just end the episode.
And to promote the forthcoming soundtrack, soon to be available at a store near you.
Hey, there's 2 soundtracks coming out. Get it straight, Hal.
Right.
2 of them.
One's kind of like the score music, and then the other one is the songs, probably, right?
The score music at the moment, it sounds just like the sound.
And I posted about that.
That's right. You're right, Frank. It would sound like the Eraserhead soundtrack. You're right.
Yeah, I posted about the soundtracks the other day on the page, and people just went. People love soundtracks.
Yeah,
that post got so many likes and shares. So,
hey, if we love stuff like this, of course we're going to buy the soundtrack.
Yeah.
Oh, you got them.
I finally got mine today.
You're such a copycatter.
I haven't got them, so
no, they're quite nice, and no, I'm not taking them out of the box.
No, don't do that. Don't do that.
Well, it's not so much because I'm not going to sell it anyway. But she's, Log Lady's got a log, and Cooper's got a cup of coffee. I'm going to lose those pieces if I open the box. So no.
Exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, some people are running with the idea of, do you think David Bowie is going to come back? That's a big thing. Do you think David Bowie is going to come back?
I hope so. I so hope so. That would be so cool.
I don't even need him to talk. I just would love to just see Static from Fire Walk With Me, and all of a sudden he's coming through, kind of like Zod and Man of Steel or something like that,
Yeah, doing that herky jerky editing, but it's Bowie, man. That would be so awesome.
All I know is that he was working like a dog right up until he died.
That's right.
He was working on stuff that he wanted to finish. So it's possible.
I mean, this might be a wives' tale, but I heard that he had told his lawyer or manager that, like, right after you hear that I died, drop the album.
Exactly. It was a death art piece. I mean, who keeps secrets better than David Bowie and David Lynch? So, I mean, that would be the ultimate secret cameo. It'd be so beautiful.
Yeah. The only thing that keeps me from saying it's 100% is I think Showtime would want to exploit that a little bit. But
if that's the agreement between Bowie's estate and David Lynch, I mean, what better? You talk about water cooler talk, the next day after that episode airs, and everybody's going, Bowie was in episode 8. And everybody goes, I got to catch up on that show, man. It would make news,
And if you think there's too many Twin Peaks articles now being written, imagine if David Bowie shows up.
It would blow out. It would be on every news story. David Bowie's final cameo is a surprise in Twin Peaks: The Return. I mean, that was great promotion.
And regardless of how great this new show is, that would make this show legendary.
That would take it to the next level. I agree. So they would be better kept as a secret, and I think David Nevins would totally agree with that.
So if David Bowie shows up, there would be now 48 levels.
You talk about it, Cameron, when you do, it's like everybody's head would do that.
Your brain's exploded now. Wait till you see if he walks through the shadow.
That's exactly right. That was so
we're all going to meltdown.
Yes, that's right.
But the thing is, it's interesting you say that there could be a surprise, because Bowie apparently was still bringing up surprises after his death.
Exactly.
If people found out some hidden thing in the cover of Black Star, if they put it up to the light, it's got something in it that wasn't. So they were saying he's still surprising people even after he's still got tricks up his sleeve.
Well, all that information in the first video that he released before the album came out for Black Star. I mean, Major Tom. That's right. You open up the astronaut helmet and it's a skull encrusted with jewels and stuff. That was all foreshadowing his death. So that was all. He kept it all a secret until it just happened.
So I think there's much more to come with Bowie, even if it's just his musical output. I think he's still got stuff in,
Reggie714 is saying that he believes there is a Bowie cameo because there's too much chatter on the internet about him currently.
And there's also too many Philip Jeffries references to just not have him in there in some capacity.
And he doesn't have to be walking and playing like a major scene. I mean, like I said, if they just had an image of him, even laying down on his pillow, looking, coming on the TV screen, that would be enough.
Because it's enough that we got Catherine E. Coulson. If that's all that's all we get, God bless her for doing that. I mean, it's because she's part of it and needs to be there. So the Bowie thing would be so stupendous.
I would be shocked and surprised if this is all we got out of Catherine E. Coulson. Because I'll say this, I think there's going to be at least one more image of her.
I think so too.
Because she's told Hawk to, look for this, that has to do with your heritage. Once this whole mini subplot is done, I think she's gonna be on the phone again, like, "Thank you, Hawk. Thank you. You did it," or something like that. I think there'll be one more little thing.
And she invited Hawk over for pie and coffee. So
Oh, if this show ends with Hawk and the log lady having pie and coffee, it'd be
that would
warm my heart. That would.
Yes, it would.
There wouldn't be a dry house and any house. No.
But I mean, if she were to come back, I think the most obvious place to put her in would be the final episode. Tie everything up, maybe somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, what do you guys think of this whole Dougie thing in terms of the Sycamore Street, Lancelot Court, Merlin's Market? Is that just kind of a throwaway thing we're talking about, where it's just kind of a tidbit thing that Lynch and Frost like to just play with fans, or do you think that is gonna, the fact that Agent Cooper says in the final episode, the resting place of King Arthur, Glastonbury or whatever, and that obviously is Glastonbury Grove. Is this just a fun little thing, or do you think this whole idea of King Arthur or that aspect is really at play here?
I think that, like you talked about the 47 layers, that just could be part of an aspect that if you're familiar with Arthurian legends, that, that'll just deepen the thematic aspects of Twin Peaks, and wasn't that stuff referred to a lot in Cooper's book, My Life, My Tapes? Wasn't there a lot of King Arthur stuff in that, if I remember correctly?
It's been 20 years.
It's been so long since I read that too, but I just remember thinking that at the time that the Glastonbury Grove, when you read that book, they talked a lot about that, or they added a lot in that book. I'll have to reread it because I know there's stuff in there about that.
Yeah, maybe you guys can track down that book and read it too. Yeah. We can discuss that. That would be
it's
pretty
hard to get hold of now, isn't it? I think it's out of print, isn't it?
It's probably online somewhere to read it.
For extortionate amounts of money, probably.
And no, I am not going to read it like the Firewalk.
I read it in its entirety.
Tonight, everybody, we are going to be reading The Secret.
I'm gonna dig it out though and see if I can find passages.
I have it right over here.
I did love that book actually. It was really good. I did enjoy it.
I'm not going to find the Glastonbury references while I'm on the air.
Next episode though, we have to make a point of kind of researching that a little bit.
Yeah, that would be good. Okay, who's this? Clone Commandos 101 says, I get the feeling that Donna Hayward died in the James Hurley accident. You really think they're gonna kill Donna off screen like that? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm hearing this mixed things about Donna's in the show, she's not in the show, but
Lynch did make a specific comment. He goes, Donna Hayward is not in this story, because they asked him specifically, Lara Flynn Boyle, you recast her, in the movie, and, neither are listed in the cast credits. And he goes, yeah, this story doesn't involve her. So he did make that specific comment.
Either they have nothing, they couldn't think of anything to do with her character, or what? I mean, because obviously she was important enough in Laura's story that he recast her. If we're going to be dealing with Laura Palmer again, wouldn't she want Donna Hayward to play a part in this? I mean, we got Bobby and James in here. We need Donna too to complete that trifecta, right?
I mean, I agree, because we have such fondness for that world and those characters, but maybe it's just mechanically unfeasible for whatever reason. Because,
I don't want Donna Hayward just standing around doing nothing.
Right.
So, but we have Ben Horn behind a desk. I mean, shouldn't we get some sort of? I mean, we know that. I mean, it's pretty much confirmed now that Ben Horn is her real dad, right?
Right.
Even though obviously Doc Hayward was her, adopted dad, but.
Maybe we'll learn more about Donna's fate when we see Doc Hayward.
Yeah, maybe. I just personally, as a fan, I would feel I haven't felt gypped at all in these new episodes, but it would take a very deft touch, and I know Frost and Lynch can do it, but it would take a very deft touch to tell me that Donna Hayward died off screen in a way that would be satisfactory to me as a fan. That, you know what I mean? When the last time we see her in an episode, she's crying over her dad beating Ben Horn.
You're my daddy. You're my daddy.
Right, when Doc Hayward hits Ben Horn into the fireplace,
yeah.
And the last image we see is her crying, almost mirrors the first image we see of her in the show, crying at the desk, almost. But I don't know. I mean, I guess we'll see.
Although Major Briggs died off camera.
Well, that was unavoidable,
right?
Yeah,
you can't really recast Garland Briggs.
No, you cannot.
But yeah,
I love that he's in there though, Eraserhead style. That was great.
Blue roll.
Floating head.
Dono Nano says, Cameron, read The Secret Diary of Laura Palmer. I have read it. My mom gave it to me for Christmas one year. It was in my stocking. And then when I got it, I was like, great. She was like, I don't know if I should be giving you this, is what she said to me at Christmas.
This is kind of R-rated, Cameron.
I think my mom must have skimmed through it a little bit.
Speaking of Laura's Diary, that fanzine magazine, The Blue Rose, which I'm going to plug again because it's a great magazine. Issue number 2 is coming out in 2 weeks. And it's the whole thing is about the secret diary of Laura Palmer, and it's going to include a promotional card from Showtime that is kind of like a 3D changing thing. So Blue Rose magazine, if you're a fan, subscribe to it. If you liked Wrapped in Plastic, it's the new Wrapped in Plastic.
That's super cool. And John Thorne's doing that as well, right?
John Thorne and Scott Ryan.
Scott Ryan. Hi to Scott Ryan. Yeah, he's on my friends list.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
Let's see. So in New York tonight, it's too late, guys. I'm sorry, and it's already passed. But I wanted to bring this up. Kyle MacLachlan was in New York serving wine at the Bottle Rocket Wine and Spirits Festival.
Yeah, he was signing bottles of wine.
Signing bottles of wine and serving bottles of wine.
Yeah.
I like this article by Eater New York says, you Desperate Housewives and Sex and the City fans should stay home because the Twin Peaks fans will take over.
No. He was also on some food show making a cherry pie, which was pretty cool because they did the crust with like the zigzag crust, on top.
I have to say, I know I mentioned this before, but I just want to continue giving shout outs to Kyle MacLachlan. He didn't want to be in Firewalk with me. Okay. He did everything he could not to be a part of it. Then he decided to be a part of it. Then he got, small role in it. Then after Twin Peaks, it was just over. He moved on, did other stuff, but I'm so happy to see him. Look, I liked him on Desperate Housewives and Sex and the City. He's wonderful. He's on Wonderful in Portlandia and that type of stuff, but he really does seem like he's alive again for the first time in a long time. And
I think he really values his working relationship with Lynch and really embraced that this time around. You know?
Right, and I think that while I know he's always been appreciative of fans, I think there's always been just a little bit of well, the fans really want this Twin Peaks stuff, but I don't know, what's happening or if it's ever going to happen, so I don't want to like really go there. But once it was decided that's where they were going to go, he embraced it, and he's just been wonderful to the community ever since.
He's such a good sport too. He's always willing to give the line about black as midnight on a moonless night as he sips his coffee and stuff. He's always willing to do that for any show he's on.
I think it was just the thought of working with David again, because they hadn't worked for years together.
Over 25 years.
Yeah, and I think it just fired him up when they had those meetings together. Prior to. How
could it not, Frank? Look at the characters they're giving him to play.
Of course, so much meat to it. I mean, he's in almost every scene as well. He had an awful lot to do in it. God,
he said that he when he would meet with Lynch just for casual for lunch or whatever, he would always put the bug in his ear, and said most times David would go, I'm no. So, but Kyle was always kind of in recent years before it was announced, kind of putting that bug in Lynch's ear. So I think he wanted to come back at some point.
While David and Mark were writing it.
Right.
Well, I heard this really funny story the other day. There's that great line, obviously, in episode 4 where they show the doppelganger's head, mugshot, and then Lynch. That's when Lynch says, "Holy jumpin' George," which is a wonderful, wonderful line. And it's what honestly all of us are kind of thinking when we see that mugshot, but he says it in his David Lynchian kind of way. But I heard a story that Mark Frost brought it up to David about the I'll see you again in 25 years.
And that was his response when he heard Mark Frost say that.
Right, because I guess David had forgotten about that line, which is very bizarre, because if you go to that international pilot, it literally says 25 years later.
That's right.
For that quote-unquote dream sequence.
Yeah.
So obviously...
it's hard to believe he'd forgotten that aspect, but I did hear that same thing, that when Mark Frost said, 25 years later is written into the show, so that's a good entryway back in.
Right.
Holy jumping George.
The alarm bells went in David's mind then. Bing, 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 25. You can do this.
Exactly. It was like the casino lights,
Hello.
Yeah. Oh my God. Are they trying to troll us with memes? I mean, they've given us so many lines already in 4 episodes to create memes from. Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. Okay, I want to give a shout out to Hin H. Wood for coming up with this brilliant comment. We've been talking recently about Tamara Preston and Krista Bell's performance as Krista Bell playing Tamara Preston. Some people are grooving with it. Some people think that she's kind of miscast. Some people think, well, she's fine right now, but if Lynch gives her a bigger role as the series goes on, maybe there's going to be some issues there. We've just pointed out that just the way she's being played, not that we think it's terrible or anything, but it definitely doesn't seem like the Tamara Preston and Mark Frost book. But, Hin H. Wood brought up, wouldn't Tamara Preston have been better as a character, even same role, everything, if instead of Krista Bell being cast, if Lynch had maybe used Laura Elena Haring from Mulholland Drive? And that got my mind spinning like that. Laura Elena Haring as Tamara Preston is more or less who I would picture in Mark Frost's book as Tamara Preston. That kind of really elegant, sophisticated woman who looks like she can handle herself. Krista Bell looks like she would just throw a temper tantrum and stomp off. So, which she does in episode 4. Frank, what do you think of Krista Bell so far? I mean, obviously it's a small part. We don't know if it's going to get any bigger, but I mean, are you happy with the way Tamara Preston is brought up and played? I'm only asking, I know it's a small character right now, but because she's the main character in Frost's book, how do you think these two things match up so far.
Well, I also think, just looking slightly ahead there, I think she's going to play a bigger part in this. I think that the trio of David, Miguel, and Christabel will play an ongoing part in this. Well, depends how much Miguel shot, but apparently he's in quite a bit. But so I think we'll probably find out a lot more about Tamara, and she might get better as we go along.
I don't think she's terrible. But there is a lot that seems a little off about it. But I don't know.
Yeah, but also the other thing I was speculating about that performance with Krista on there is that a lot of the characters, are not quite themselves, and maybe again it goes into the fact that this is not quite the reality we think it is, and that these could be parallel characterizations of themselves. She might, it's possible that she's not the true Tamara Preston that we haven't, obviously in the book she is different, but we only have a voice and we only have text to look at. But she could just be another version of her or something like that, where the characters are just the flip side of things. They're not quite the same. With the time thing and the character thing, it may just be all cleverly deliberate. If
episode 5 begins with Naomi Watts, just waking up in bed, and the first 4 episodes were all a dream, and she's now, Diane Selwyn again, I wouldn't be surprised. Let's just say, because the way this show is playing out, it literally could go anywhere. There isn't like you watch these 4 episodes and you say, oh, I see the trajectory of this show and where we're going and what we're going to be concentrating on. I mean, episode 8, they could just flip it again on its head and surprise us all. They've been doing that every episode. People thought 1 and 2, people really liked it. And then 3 was just like, to a lot of people, oh my Lord, what are we in for now? I think
that's probably where David Nevins was onto something when he said this is Lynch pure heroin, because if episode 3 isn't a fucking trip, I don't know what to say.
But like I pointed out, though, the more you watch episode 3, it's not quite as trippy as it was the first time, because you start to notice it does kind of, I hate to say linear storytelling, but it does tell a very flowing story. It's not just weird to be weird.
No, it's just that we're not used to that kind of pacing in television, and he takes his own damn time. And once you get into that groove and the rhythm, it makes perfect sense on that level,
Right. And I've been telling people, they say like, oh, I don't really like this new show, and I said, rewatch the episodes.
That's
just
right.
Give them one more watch. If you're still not on board, I get it, fine. But almost every person, some people this isn't built for them. But
repeat viewing.
But I think if you see at least the first 2 episodes twice, I think you will appreciate them more the second time. And if you don't, okay. But if you do, then you'll know that maybe you have to watch these episodes once or twice to just fully appreciate them. If it's taking you a while. And I know that's a lot of time commitment to a lot of people, because some people would say like, no, if I don't like it the first time, I don't like it. But it does get better with every viewing.
It does. It definitely does.
And again, I loved it the first time I saw it.
Yes.
But I thought, well, maybe I won't. Maybe this will be one of those shows where I really like it, and then I'll watch it a couple times, and I'll just kind of get bored with it. Mm-hmm. I'm more intrigued every time now I watch it.
Well, my thing was I was just let it some later date. But like I said, I've been accidentally tuning into Showtime, and it's on, and I sit and watch it. And now I've watched it 2 or 3 times, and you're absolutely right. It gets better and better on the rewatches.
Yeah. Reggie714 comes in with a great comment. Says about David Nevin's line about Lynch's pure heroin. He says that Lynch's pure heroin is obviously the Tamara Preston ass shot.
That brings up a point, because I've heard some talk online about the problem with some people feel there's a misogynistic aspect to David Lynch, not necessarily misogyny, but the treatment of women.
They've been having this discussion, since before Blue Velvet.
True, but and I agree. But do you think that becomes more of a problem in 2017?
Well, I'll tell you this. On this podcast a few months ago, I had the editor-in-chief of Birth Movies Death as a guest. If you guys don't know, Birth Movies Death was originally called Badass Digest. It's part of the Alamo Drafthouse. It's the official website of the Alamo Drafthouse.
Okay.
And they do a lot of great articles, and they get a really great website. But they're part of what is termed on the internet as sort of social justice warriors. Have you ever heard that? Right. So like their website is very much into, standing up for women and gay rights. And, obviously this is wonderful stuff here. But they really like promote that. Right.
Yes.
And we were discussing because it's been over 10 years since Inland Empire. Right. And that was before Twitter. Before Facebook was available to the mainstream public. This is, MySpace was still a thing back then. I was like, well, what's going to happen in modern day 2017 with David Lynch? Because if Wild at Heart came out today, where the opening scene is of a white man just beating the head of an African-American guy, on a marble floor to this pulse-pounding music, and it's played for laughs. What are the Twitter quote-unquote social justice warrior people going to say about this kind of stuff? The fact that Roger Ebert, before The Straight Story, was really after David Lynch for his treatment of women, right? But this was before the internet. I think that, well, his answer to me was, we love David Lynch. He's an artist. He's a filmmaker. But if he crosses that line, the public will decide he did, and we'll tear it down like we do with anything else we don't agree with. Now, I haven't seen a lot of that happen, but I'm hearing from you and a few other people that there are aspects of it that you see maybe on a Reddit thread or something like that. Now, again, I'm not saying they're wrong if they do kind of not like something, but so far I'm amazed that there hasn't been a huge blowback. And I think while this thing is getting record numbers in streaming, I still don't think enough people are seeing it that it's becoming like the Jenner Pepsi commercial that causes all hell. Because when Lucy said, "Huck, you're an Indian," I was like, oh my God, there goes the Twitter. You know what I mean? People are going to be calling out Lynch for all this kind of cultural appropriation and that kind of stuff, being racist and
Why didn't she say you're a Native American? Yeah,
something like that. Well, again, it's Lucy, and Michael Horse has always had good natured humor with all of this stuff.
That's right.
Even's going so far in the original series where he kneels down and he's like playing with a twig and he goes this way. It's awesome. It's hilarious. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, do you guys see a lot of try to take down of Lynch in this show? Because I'm not. But if it is happening, it's happening at such a low level that I'm not even recognizing it.
I see people mentioning it in recaps and things like that. It's not like this is the tone of the article, but I do see it mentioned, and so I wonder, as it goes on, whether that will become an issue or not. But I never agreed with. When Roger Ebert reviewed Blue Velvet and he talked about how he mistreated Isabella Rossellini, that just didn't make sense to me. That scene was it was not gratuitous. And, the fact that she was his girlfriend at the time, I mean, it wasn't like she was abused. She agreed to do it. And, it wasn't like she was, it was her kind of first movie and stuff, but still, I didn't see that as exploitative at all. But I can see, some of the points that, the way that Bad Coop brutalized, what was her name in the hotel room?
Daria.
Daria.
Yeah.
And the lingering on, when he blows her head off and then pulls the pillow back and you see and it's always, it starts with the dead girls and beheading girls. It's like comics get that bad rap too, where it's like the woman in the refrigerator or whatever, as a story jumping off point. There's a lot of feminists that have backlash against that and stuff. So I am seeing that scuttlebutt, but hopefully it won't, become an issue.
So we got a few things here. Cynic Kill says, I mentioned this before, but it bears repeating given the conversation. There's some issue he sees online with Jade so far being the only black character on the show that is exploited and prone to stereotyping.
That's right. Yeah.
I don't know though, because she is the hooker with the heart of gold, but I thought that she was an original character. I didn't feel like, she was some jive talking. She isn't Foxy Cleopatra from Austin Powers Goldmember or something. But Leonard says Lynch's material always passes the Bechdel test. Interesting.
What's the Bechdel test? Is that Alison Bechdel?
Yeah, that's where two women have a conversation that doesn't pertain about men or, just
gotcha.
Has other...
Alison Bechdel, the graphic artist that did Family House or whatever, Fun House. Yeah.
Reggie 714 says anyone complaining should just enjoy the show. It's quality, none of that PC shit.
I agree with that, but yet you have to listen to all sides. So.
And the other thing is that this podcast is about what's going on with the new show Twin Peaks, and that's covering all aspects. We can't just live in a bubble. We can't be like Linda the Good Witch and Wild at Heart, right?
Right. And also we're not qualified to psychoanalyze David Lynch either. So let him have his tropes, and we all watch it or don't.
But I will say
the other thing about that shot of Christabel's ass is that you could have taken that out of it, and it would have had no impact on that scene.
Mm-hmm.
As she's walking off and then just hold it there. So it didn't have to be in there.
It wasn't just the hold on it. It was the fact that it cut to Albert and then it cut back to her.
Right. And he literally panned down to center it. It's like the shot goes like this and then pans down to center the ass.
Right. And that's why I think while this podcast does not get mentioned in a lot of articles and a lot of websites, look, I know a lot of you guys watch this podcast. The numbers suggest it. A lot of the stuff that we discuss on these shows are coming up on websites as stories, right? This Tamara Preston thing with the ass shot, right? I was the first night I called that out, and now it's everywhere. The fact that I referred to Christabel in my first video about this new series as Vampira, and now all these websites and stuff and people online refer to her as Vampira. Now nobody before this show came out probably ever even heard of Vampira. But that was kind of and I wasn't even thinking Vampira per se, but more Lisa Marie's portrayal of Vampira in Tim Burton's Ed Wood. That's kind of like how I envisioned it. But I mean, obviously I know a lot of you guys know who Vampira is, but most people wouldn't naturally look at Christabel and think Vampira. But I threw it out there and now everyone's talking about it. It just cracks me up that while this podcast does not get cited, it does get cited just in those references, so it just cracks me up. Okay. Let's see. So let's talk about an article that came out today. This came from IndieWire. It has titled "The 6 Craziest Revival Fan Theories Ranked." Because, we have to rank everything today.
Sure.
It can't just be 6 crazy theories. It has to be ranked. But a lot of these,
not 10 because 6 is hipper.
Yeah, exactly. They should have done 253. But anyway, so they did this article, and a lot of their theories that they bring up are actually ones I hadn't heard. And the reason why I hadn't heard them is because they obviously went to the dregs of the internet and found the most wild theories that nobody was talking about, apparently, because I hadn't even heard about these. And these are supposedly the 6 best out there. So let's discuss them. So anyway, like I said, this comes from IndieWire. The first one is, this comes from Reddit, comes from I guess a writer named Shotgun Skull Q. And the theory is Will Hawk become Bob?
Right.
I don't even have to read that and go, no. It's like it's like if you know Lynch's work, right? And Lynch Frost's work, you know from watching Twin Peaks, the original series, Lucy or Andy were never going to be the killer of Laura Palmer.
Andy's going to become Bob.
No, I'm just saying that like Lynch believes in good, he believes in bad, and occasionally we get Laura Palmer gray, right? Like we have the White Lodge, the Black Lodge, and apparently we have now a gray lodge, if that is what that is. But for the most part, Lynch plays in contrast, light and dark. Mm-hmm. If you're light, you're light, and if you're dark, you're dark. Occasionally there's some crossover, but for the most part, no. Hawk is not, I will be shocked if it goes this way, but Hawk is not a character that even flirts with the dark side. He understands the dark side, but he's not someone who's going to become Bob.
Are they saying it's going to be like a revisit of the Cooper becomes Bob at the end of the series, so Hawk becomes Bob at the end of the series? Bum, 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 you know, well, set it up for season 4.
Let me read this. Says in Mark Frost's 2016 book, The Secret History of Twin Peaks, Hawk is described as a descendant of the Nez Perce tribe who originally lived in what would become Twin Peaks. In the book, the tribe's chief, Twisted Hair, gifts explorers Lewis and Clark with a ring. Although Twisted Hair keeps it in a leather pouch, Lewis puts the ring on. He is eventually killed, and the ring is stolen from him. But could this be the same ring from the Black Lodge that sealed Laura and Teresa Banks' fate? This could also be what the log lady meant when she told Hawk that the key to finding Cooper has to do with his heritage. Pair this with Coop's infamous line from season 2 about hoping that Hawk is the one who gets sent to find him. And there could be something here. If Hawk finds the ring and puts it on in an attempt to rescue Cooper from the Black Lodge, could he become a new vessel for Bob or another spirit? Frank, is this just horse crap, or do you think there's some merit to it?
Well, I was just thinking. I'm thinking back to a conversation that Hawk had with Cooper I think it was in the bar when they were having a beer together, and
right.
talking about the lodges. I might be getting the wrong scene, but
they're not talking about the lodges. He says, "Do you believe in soul?" And he says several.
But also I think there was another scene where he says about, fear and love open the door. If you're going with imperfect courage, it would utterly annihilate your soul. And the Hawk is not flawed like that, like Cooper. I don't think there's a chink in his armor. So he's courageous, and I don't think he would be corrupted by Bob if he does go into the Red Room. I think he it won't affect him in that way.
Yeah.
That's kind of what you're driving at.
Song Aid comes in with the cheap shot here saying, I don't think Michael Horst is a good enough actor to play Bob. Ooh, that hurts. But I can't see Lynch and Frost turning Hawk into Bob, because no, Michael Horst, he didn't want anything to do with being in the scene with Leland confessing to Cooper. You know what I mean?
That's true. Yeah, he wouldn't agree to do that. You're right.
I think he would agree to whatever Frost and Lynch wanted to do, but I can't see Hawk just running around Twin Peaks as Bob. I'm sorry.
I don't see the storyline going that way either. But
he's got the hair for it, though, isn't he?
Okay, this one irritated me, I have to say, because this comes from a dumb theory that people have been having for years. That no, you were not correct. I have no evidence of this, but you're not correct. And if you are, I will throw up my hands and be like, what am I doing as a Twin Peaks fan? Because this comes from H. Perry Horton. Laura Dern can't be Diane because Diane does not exist.
No.
Diane
exists.
Yeah.
I know they think it's a construct of Cooper's mind or something, or just somebody talks into the tape. No, that would be ridiculous.
The whole thing was that he talked to his off-screen secretary, and guess what? She sent him the silicone earplugs.
We're going to see Diane.
And even if we don't, I'm okay with having her be off screen. I mean, she sent him the earplugs. Obviously, he didn't just go out and mail himself some earplugs.
I'm okay if we don't see her either, because that's part of the fun of Diane. But I think we're going to see her just like we saw Wally Brando. We want to see these things. These are part of the answers they're giving us here.
I think it would spoil the mystique of Diane by revealing who she is.
But if it's Laura Dern, I think she'll be cool as Diane.
And even from 1990, I've always suspected that Laura Dern would be Diane if they ever showed her.
Right.
And at that point, movie stars did not go to TV, so obviously I knew that wasn't an option. But now it is.
Thank God Diane is not Christabel.
Well, who knows? She might have done a good job with Diane. You don't know. You really don't know. It might be better than Tamara Preston.
Well, I know a lot of people have been having fun with my crazy theory of that I think Gordon Cole and Tamara Preston are having an affair, because when he says you're wearing a wire, and she says, "You asked me to." I'm like,
that's like a lover's quarrel.
That's a lover's quarrel. That's not addressing your boss.
That's right.
So
the theory I'm really gravitating to upon rewatching is that Bobby Briggs is still involved in drugs, in the drug running.
Okay, now a lot of people listen. I want to believe a lot of people by saying he's reformed. I do, but I also know that they need to give Dana Ashbrook a role. And
you know what cinched me to the theory that he's still involved is the minute that they bring up look into the drug, look at all avenues. He's kind of like, well, all I see is a bunch of nothing's going on, And then when he's like, well, really look into it more, he goes, I really got to take a piss. It's like he wants to avoid it.
But I mean, some people say that that's a joke about Cooper telling the sheriff, like, we got a lot of work to do, but Harry, I really have to urinate.
Fair enough. I just think the way it was done, Bobby's hiding something.
Well, there's
one thing. It would give him a good cover, wouldn't it? If he works for them, because no one would really point the finger if he's working.
It's like in Clockwork Orange when those guys, the droogies become cops at the end.
Well, there's a
perfect job for guys like that.
And there's another clue, Hal. There's another clue there. Because Bobby says, I've got all the trails covered.
Yeah.
And the sheriff says, all known trails? Oh, yeah, that's what I meant. Now, maybe that was a reference to, because Bobby used to deal with drugs, he's aware of other trails the cops don't know. So maybe he's in on that. Like he knows where to look where other people don't. I want to believe that. But I'm scared. I'm worried that Bobby is using those unknown trails to still deal cocaine.
I agree. And I think that murder is going to come back to haunt him.
I think that kid overdosing in the school is going to come back to haunt him.
That's exactly right. That's going to be the key to Bobby's bust.
And when he comes walking in the room and he sees Laura's picture, obviously, right, it's, like he says, brings back some memories. He's remembering all this stuff about the past. But like I've said before, obviously, Laura Palmer took his virginity. Laura Palmer's murder, it changed his whole life. But Laura Palmer was also the only other person that was with him when he murdered the deputy from Deer Meadow. Now, a lot of people say, well, that was a corrupt deputy, and so all is forgiven.
Still murder.
But it's still something that could come back to bite him in the ass if that is discovered.
Right. There's another thing to that, Cameron, that could really play into this, because we've got James in this now, and we've got Bobby, and they haven't met yet. We don't know how they're getting on now after 25 years. They're at each other's throats before, and they're on. One's a lawman now. One's what looks like kind of like a decent character, but Laura told James that Bobby had killed somebody, so James knows as well. And so it might come into it that if anything happens between the two of them, James has got something on Bobby that could destroy him.
And we've also got the fourth Renault brother there behind the bar still hanging out. So
yeah,
it's a little weird that like Jacques, Bernard, and Jean look so different from each other, but now the new brother looks exactly like Jacques.
With a beard, though. With a beard,
yeah. Although it is nice that see Walter Olkowitz again, because for a long time he was asking people to help him out because he wanted to get back into acting. So they got him propped up behind the bar so he doesn't have to move his leg very much, and here he is. So all right, so let's get to the next wondrous theory here.
Isn't this the Audrey is a billionaire?
No.
Audrey's the billionaire. Oh, that's coming up.
No, that's coming up. The next one is, oh Jesus, oh my God! If you guys think the Diane thing not real is messed up, here comes the next one. Comes from Reddit again, of course. This comes from Therian Frank, and it's called Agent Cooper isn't real. Mr. C is the real Cooper. And yeah, Frank, I think that pretty much summed it up. The idea is that this has nothing to do with Twin Peaks. This has to do with Lynch from Mulholland Drive and Lost Highway, saying that the Caroline situation and the Annie situation kind of screwed Cooper up. The fear that he caused Annie's death literally splits him in two and births Mr. C. But what if all this is just a crazy story concocted by a tortured mind? What if Coop, unable to rebound after the death of Caroline, turned into someone like Wyndham Earle and did terrible things? Is it possible that Mr. C is Coop all along, and he's created an alternate persona for himself like Betty in Mulholland Drive? The answer is no.
No.
Jesus. Please.
I mean, we did preface the show with saying, let's everybody's got theories and don't ridicule everybody brainstorming and stuff. But yeah, that's too. That's so listen. I don't want it to go that way, and I don't think anybody.
I love hearing theories.
Yes.
Right. I love it. But there's some theories that are listen. If I saw this on a Twin Peaks message board, I'd be like, no, seriously, I would be like, well, probably not, but okay, I'm glad you're thinking, all right? I'm glad you're throwing things out. But the fact that this comment was picked up by IndieWire as one of the top 6 theories to consider, that gives credence to a theory that is, come on, 99% probably not going to happen.
Right. Everybody's looking for the scoop on Coop.
Yeah.
And they're digging deep. They're digging deep.
They are digging
scraping
deep.
The bottom of the barrel there.
And again with the whole Mulholland Drive thing again. I mean, I've already thrown out my idea. Listen, whatever your theory about Mulholland Drive is, that's the correct one. I mean, it's just is. There is no real answer to Mulholland Drive. There's no real answer to Lost Highway. Whatever you bring to it, that is what is brought. I have my own theory about Mulholland Drive that is so different than everybody else's, and God bless everybody else for having theirs. I really love hearing it, but I have my own, and I'm happy with it. And that's the way I look at the movie. And that's the way I've always looked at the movie.
And the thing is, you have the peace that comes with knowing you're right, Cameron. So
wow, yeah.
That's what I always say when people disagree with me. I have the peace that comes with knowing I'm right.
No, I mean, I mean, everybody has their own theory as to why things happen, and I'm always like, yeah, you're right, but it's not right in the way I see it, but you are right in the way you're looking at it, and that's what I love so much about David Lynch's films and TV work is whatever you think is correct, it's correct.
And he agrees with you. He's said that many, many times.
That's what he wants you to do, though. He wants you to just to think, and whatever conclusion you come to is fine.
Mm-hmm.
He just puts the work out there. He's got no control over it after that, as he often says. And you just make the movie your own interpretation.
Right, and it's like a Rorschach test. A lot of times, what you think about it says a lot about you, not necessarily about him or the art piece itself. It's your personal interpretation.
Yeah.
All right. The next one comes from, the Hollywood Reporter. They're quoting them, but they're saying that while the Hollywood Reporter floated this theory, they've seen it in other places. And of course, it's been talked about on this show too. Is Audrey the anonymous billionaire in New York?
See, I say completely no to that.
The reason I say no to that is because I believe that Patrick Fischler refers to the boss as a man.
Well,
were they gender specific about the millionaire?
You wouldn't want to work for him.
Oh,
so you're saying it out straight away, as far as I'm concerned.
Let's listen. And if the anonymous billionaire is the same person that Ben and Jerry referred to it, right? They would have said Audrey, but they don't. So my theory is, if it is Audrey, it's Audrey under the guise of John Justice Wheeler, because he had a lot of cash too. That's the only thing that I can think of if it is her, but I don't believe it's her. I know a lot of people think it's Jim Belushi. Which, listen, the only reason why I would give that any credence at this point is because he went out and did the rounds on the press junkets, right? And he hasn't been in any of the 4 episodes so far.
Right.
So why would you send him out to do press when he's not even in the first 4 episodes that are going to drop? Unless maybe he was going to play a major character later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, right now it could be anybody, but my gut at this moment, and of course, you know, I'm probably going to be wrong, but my gut is the anonymous billionaire is a character we already know. I don't think it's going to be a new character, but I mean, I could be wrong, but I mean, I think it's too much of a reveal to just be a new character.
Now, do you think the character is good or bad? What are his motives for wanting to see into those portals, into the...
Well, you know, again, I've heard some people theorize that it could be the doppelganger who has set this up, waiting for Cooper to get out of the lodge. You know,
that's true too. Yeah,
that's possible. Of course, I've mentioned a few times that if it turns out to be Wyndham Earl in any way, shape, or form, I will just go screaming through my house like Cousin Del. Because I just would love it if they brought that back in some capacity. But
that would be great. I mean, and he would have the motivation to do it. You know, I mean,
right. But of course, he has no soul at this moment. So
true.
You know,
how do you get around that?
But then again, he didn't seem like a billionaire either. And how? But
then again, you know, most billionaires don't have a soul. So
especially ones with orange hair and whatever.
Exactly. So anyway, so a lot of people are, again, see people are watching this podcast and talking about it. I'm telling you, because they're saying, well, Cooper went into One-Eyed Jack's to rescue Audrey, so this is her way of rescuing Cooper.
That's the only plausible aspect of that theory, yes.
And that would be a nice way of looking at it, but I don't think they're going to go this route. I would be shocked if they did. Some people have even thrown out even a worse thing, saying that, oh no, it can't be Audrey because Audrey's been in a coma for 25 years. If that happens, that will be too much for me, that she just happens to wake up right when Cooper comes out of the lodge or something like that.
Right. Would you like to, would you be disappointed if it's a disfigured Audrey?
No. I mean, we've already seen her in Boxing Helena. I mean, how much more disfigured can she get?
Right. I wonder if she would be disappointed if that's the role they...
Well, she was a little upset.
That's right.
But I don't know if she was upset by the role itself or the amount of screen time.
Yeah, whether it was the amount of screen time or, like I said, if they had her hideously disfigured and she was hoping to be, the Cooper's love interest somehow, and they took it a completely different direction that she didn't intend. Once she got on the set and read the script and was hired, she's going, uh-oh. Mm-hmm. I didn't really want to go that route.
But they did do all the glamour shots with her with Entertainment Weekly. So either they're setting us up for something else, or she will come up later. Mm-hmm. Okay, the next theory is another one. This comes from Reddit. Another one, though, that was talked about on this podcast for a few episodes now, and that is Wally Brando is really dead.
What?
Because it said, and we've talked about this before, is that he may not be their son after all, but an actor hired to play him. Now, the reason, of course, is the dates. They said that he was born April 3rd. Or somewhere around early April, and in March at the Miss Twin Peaks Festival, she's not even showing. And that, so obviously they're not going to wait another year, obviously, to have another kid. So maybe their kid died, and they, or it could be, they didn't give a shit about dates, and they just had him have the kid at that point. But anyway, it's just an interesting theory here. It says Lynch is careful to show Lucy struggling to adapt to new technology. It says, sure, it could be a thinly, veiled rib at the fans who can't let go of the original series, but Lucy's inability to let go of the past could also be the result of losing her only son as a child. Now, another thing that supports that theory is that the picture on her desk or behind her desk is the worst Photoshop family picture I've ever seen.
Yeah, it is.
It's true.
Right. Now, either that's Lynch poking fun at that kind of stuff, or that is a deliberate attempt to create a family history that does not exist. So
you're saying that Lucy was somehow traumatized by the death of the son, and so this is all a big ruse to keep her mind from cracking up?
perhaps.
Interesting.
So, yeah, it could be.
I mean, I've also heard other people say, well, you know, if it really is her kid, then Wally Brando seems more like Dick Tremaine's kid that Andy raised.
Yeah. Yeah, so, he doesn't have the Brennan stock. He has the suaveness of a Dick Tremaine.
Well, he also has the suaveness of, dare I say, the Bookhouse Boys.
Back to Joey Paulson.
No, I think that I really do think that Wally Brando will probably be, if he comes back, I think he'll be revealed as a Bookhouse Boy. Yeah. Probably.
So, but he seemed to be there was some sort of unspoken thing though between him and Sheriff Truman that he was somehow maybe on the wrong side of the law, and he was coming back to pay respects to to him in a way of like making up, or was he paying respects to the ailing Harry Truman? Or I wasn't really clear on that stuff either.
Well, he was just coming to pay respects to both of them.
Mm-hmm.
All right, the next one is a duh. Obviously, we don't know for sure, but it seems like a duh. And that is the headless body in the librarian's apartment belongs to Major Briggs. Yeah, right now it seems pretty likely, considering that the military clearance, and also the fact is when Cooper is in that outer space kind of reality, we see Major Briggs' life, kind of head, his disembodied head floating through space. So obviously his head is looking for a body.
How is that decomposed body, though, intact 24 years later, especially if it was in a fire?
Two things I'm thinking about on that one is either it was cryogenically frozen or packed in ice for 25 years like a caveman or something.
Well, it certainly didn't look like pristine. It looked like it was kind of rotted and dark and stuff. Wouldn't
it be skeletal though after 24 years?
Or is that if it is him, is it set the time of his death? Is it a time thing? Are those scenes set in 1990 or whatever?
Gotcha. That could be
I can't think of many other reasons, but if it is meant to be his body, how would it be? One, how is it preserved so well? Or two, is it actually? Are those scenes set at the time of his death? Do we have any other reference to those scenes connecting with the modern day when they go into later on with? Are they connected at the same timeline?
We don't know.
With his body and with what's going on with Albert and that. Is there any clues to say that's set at the same time?
Well, all we have is the clues of just following the story, and we're gonna have to let them tell us.
Yeah, because that storyline about the murder seems like a whole separate thing that they didn't even go back to in 3 and 4.
Right, and I'm pretty sure, right, that they're gonna go back to Principal Hastings in that whole situation.
They would have to. And what about the character that some people are calling Bob in the cell next to him?
I can't work out who that is. I still can't.
But he seems like he's been in a fire or something,
Yeah. I saw one great theory. This is not real at all, everybody, but someone said that could that have been Jerry Horn on one of his drug trips?
He was having an out-of-body experience.
It's interesting though that if that is kind of Bob leaving. What's the guy that committed the murder? But he had the drink. The guy in the cell.
Mm-hmm. Hastings.
Yeah. So if that's sort of Bob leaving him at that point, like when Bob comes out of Leland and Leland remembers,
right?
It's almost like at that point where he gets trapped and Bob is leaving and floating up. It's like, but then why why?
Why
Like,
was he in? Yeah, why was he there?
When Bob was in Leland didn't remember anything, and then Bob says, "Watch me pull the ripcord and watch him remember."
Right.
Now Hastings doesn't. He had a dream, so he remembers an aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like he has no knowledge. He's like, I dreamed I was there.
Right.
Yeah.
That was very much a Lost Highway kind of moment for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's something about the videotapes and all that kind of thing. Like how the videotapes kept getting closer and closer to the couple sleeping in bed.
Like he says in that, doesn't he? Bill Pullman says in that, I remember things, but not necessarily the way I see them, something like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Not necessarily the way they were,
But it's interesting that Leland had no memory, and this guy, it's like the dreams are becoming more tangible.
Mm-hmm.
They're becoming more real. Like the dreams are entering the real world more and more. It's kind of like when Bad Coop is being, when Gordon and Albert and Tamara see him for the first time, and he does that. The very is backwards. The first very is backwards, which is why Cooper said he didn't greet me in the proper way. And they get that clue that it's Blue Rose. Isn't that the first instance of someone from the Red Room talking backwards in the real world?
Yes.
So it's like things are becoming more tangible, and the two worlds are the intercourse between two worlds.
Exactly. And I hate to point this out again, but I just have to. That point was discussed here, like, I don't know, a week ago. And then the last 2 days I've seen that story just floating everywhere on the internet. And I'm like, you guys are so great out there, because you guys are coming with the best theories like a week before anybody else is coming up with them. And we're all discussing them here, and it makes everybody else on the internet look like slowpokes. It's fantastic. So,
That's cool.
This podcast, like I've always said, is for the hardcores of the hardcores, but it's for the real fans out there. So thank you for joining us and being a real fan out there.
Yeah.
We have episode 5 coming out. It's, what? After getting 4 episodes for 2 weeks, I don't know. Can we handle just one episode and then wait?
I know. I was thinking that too. We're only going to get 1 hour, man. It's like I'm looking forward. My whole weekend is like building up to that, and then it's going to be over. Like
we'll be pacing the room for 6 days. Because we've been spoiled too much. That's why we've been spoiled with 4 episodes. That's why.
Oh yeah,
so I think we're going to get another song since it's a standalone, the first kind of standalone 1 hour.
Okay, listen. I don't know for sure.
Didn't somebody that saw the leak say it doesn't end with a song this time?
Somebody. Yeah, it might be a slight spoiler. Someone did contact me and said, "Don't worry, Cameron. Episode 5 does not end with a song."
Well, that's good. I'm
so
glad.
Maybe they're coming it up a wee bit.
But you know what? But you know what scares me? How does episode 5 end then?
Right. Because if it doesn't end with a song, that's an ominous sound.
One more thing I want to say about the blind Japanese woman or Asian woman, as we see in the purple room, is that I mentioned this in the last podcast, but if you notice, the left her side of her cheek has a huge piece of skin missing, and that looks identical to the piece of skin that's found in Principal Hastings' trunk. Yeah. So.
But how that connects again, we still don't know. Yeah, how they different worlds. How does that? Yeah.
But again, the whole thing in the lodges, is it future? Is it past? It could be happening 2017, but also be simultaneously happening in 1990 as well. So and
that's the thing that could be happening with Major Bridges' body. If it is indeed him, that could be set in 1990.
Well,
who knows?
Here's the thing. I'm pretty sure that section takes place currently because Doppelganger Cooper is in that section. He kills Phyllis, shoots her in the face, right?
Yeah.
And he's the one that's talking about I'm supposed to go back in this thing called the Black Lodge. Now, did he have a 25-year window out? And that, because if Bob is inside of him, which seems likely in my humble opinion, I think that they let Bob be out there for 40 years in Leland. So what's with the 25 years?
Yeah, what's with the 25 years? Yeah.
So
we could just be seeing snapshots of Bad Coop's timeline over those 25 years in the series. the strings he's been pulling in certain time periods or something like that. You know.
Maybe because he was in and out of Leland, then it added up to 25 years total. Maybe he stayed in to Bad Coop for the full 25 years, right, and now his time is up. Who knows?
This is going a little fast here, the chat, but let's see. Where is it? DM says David Lynch did tell the Twin Peaks community to keep an eye out for the guy in the cell for future episodes.
Yes, I heard that too.
Yeah.
So,
and the fact that his head severs
again,
and we're talking about a severed head and all that stuff.
Right.
So, like,
because it dissolves out, out of thin air. Then all of a sudden you realize no, it's still going up.
It was just the quietness of it made me laugh. It was just
yeah.
That should be one of our Facebook profiles pictures. It's just like just the head just floating there. But yeah, a lot of you guys, just wonderful to see you guys in the chat here. We have not bad for Friday night. We got almost 100 people watching live.
Cool.
Yeah, and not bad for not really advertising this very much tonight.
And it's pretty late here on the East Coast, so if people like me are up at 2:21, that's cool.
Exactly.
Is that what it is where you are, Hal?
Yeah.
This is way out there, but I'm going to mention it. Tachyon Time Lord says maybe the body isn't Major Briggs, but the log lady's burned husband.
I was just thinking about that. Yeah, I'm glad that got brought up.
I heard somebody said that.
If he died in the fire, he would have got, yeah.
That's right.
Was he in the military? Wasn't he part of like the something Forest Service or something, or no?
Yes, yeah, something to do with the forestry thing, I think. Yeah,
that would be weird.
The relationship with the wood,
That would be bizarre if they brought in Margaret Lanterman's husband into this in South Dakota.
Yeah, you still have to work out why is he there? What connection is it? Why is he? Unless he's just a wandering spirit, he's not settled or something.
Does he have a name? Because I heard somebody reference him as Samson Lanterman. Did we ever hear that name?
In the book, he's given a name in the Secret History.
Oh, okay.
He's never referred on screen as. She never mentions him on screen, does she? By name.
No. So it is Samson in the book. Samson.
Yeah, Sam. I think he's called. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They give a bit more backstory about him.
Yeah, I read the book. You can see how it's not stuck in my head.
I just remember that. I remember that his name's mentioned as Sam Lanterman. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Raymond is asking us, have we discussed the Gordon Cooper wiki page yet? I don't know anything about that. So no, Raymond, I don't know anything. So let us know in the chat what's going on with that. And Addy Cardiac says the man in the cell might be a physical version of the burnt engine oil.
Ooh.
See, the viewers are thinking out of that.
Because Garmonbozia is manifest as creamed corn, so why wouldn't the burnt engine oil maybe manifest in a different form?
You just don't know. It's possible. I mean, if you turn Michael J. Anderson into a tree, you can do anything, can't you?
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
But is he
obviously that was through necessity, but
And is he a sycamore tree? That's what I want to know.
I reckon he is. Yeah, I reckon he. Also, have you noticed that it also looks like a nervous system? Because you've got electrical impulses going up and down.
Yeah, I thought that too.
Reggie 714 is on fire tonight. His comment is maybe the head was severed by Kathy Griffin.
Good one.
They're also saying that the head on the tree looks like chewing gum. That gum's coming back in style.
Or it could be the log lady's pitch that she was spitting out at the restaurant.
Yeah.
Personally, I think it kind of reminds me of either the Eraserhead Baby or the head in Six Men Getting Sick, the first David Lynch film. It reminds me of that stuff as well.
And I heard there was some interview with David Lynch where they said, "Is that a pulsing orb of matter or whatever?" And he goes, "No, it's a head."
And he wouldn't be drawn upon anymore about it anymore. It's a head.
What I wouldn't give to have David Lynch sit down and with me for a nice long interview like his daughter did.
I'd love to have, those fantasy dinners that people come to, the people you'd like to have alive or dead at a dinner table. It's definitely one of them.
Yeah.
Because I think he would be a little shocked at the questions I would ask him, because one thing I would never ask him is, what did you mean by this?
Right.
I've no interest in even hearing that, because all he's going to do is skirt around that issue anyway, right?
All he's going to do is tell you to meditate.
No, what I would ask him more would be more of just like, tell me a scene in, let's say, Wild at Heart or Blue Velvet or something like that, and what did you do to create that mood? You have the scene, you have the lighting. How did you get the actors to that place? How many takes did it take to get,
Well, you get the right people, Cam. You get it. You do it one thing, put one foot in front of the other, and it becomes a thing. And
a beautiful thing.
The sound marries to it, and you fall in love with the idea, and there you have it. That's the
next question
for every question.
Okay, how about when you and Alan Splett were working on the sound design for Blue Velvet? What was the production schedule of that? How many weeks did you guys do it? And what was the final version versus your first version? What was your first concept to what it became?
The thing becomes what it needs to become, Cam.
We just went out and recorded some sounds. Alan went over there and I went over there, and we spent about 100 hours inside this room until we got beautiful magic, Cam.
Yeah.
And necessity is the mother of invention, Cam. So the thing becomes the thing it wants to be.
All right, David. So how far into the Inland Empire production schedule did you know you were in trouble?
Well, it's about a woman in trouble, Cam.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's all I can say.
When did you realize you were going to lose money on that film, David? Opening weekend or before?
Nope, not going to talk about that.
Not talking about that.
We're not going to talk about Judy.
Exactly. Was the failure of Inland Empire, in terms of at least monetarily, did that play a factor in knowing that you had to kick ass with the new, or kick ash, as they say on Film Threat magazine, with the new Twin Peaks? Did you know that you had to blow people's minds, or is this just what came out?
Well, this is the thing, Cam. You don't know what a product is until it's finished, and then it's done. And I have to make sure it's correct. And then it goes out there, and then people make their own minds up. I don't think about these little issues. I just go and do some TM.
When you worked with Trent Reznor for Lost Highway, was it because you truly enjoyed his musical skills, or were you trying to make sure you had a box office hit since Fire Walk With Me blew up in your face?
Over to you, Hal. You can take this one on.
I like Trent Reznor. He's a good guy, Cam. And the music married with the scene, and that's, I don't know. I'm getting off my David Lynch impression.
Cam, I love Trent. He's like a brother. And the reason I love him is because he's another TM follower. And anyone that practices TM is a friend of mine.
Him and Ringo.
Anyway, where's this leading?
Yeah. Nowhere.
You've gone off on a tangent.
That's pretty funny, though. Yeah. Well, you guys, we've almost gone 2 hours, so we are on, more or less the eve of a new Twin Peaks episode in another day or so. So, I know we're feeling pretty confident about going into this new episode, and it's a little scary too, because this new episode could confirm some things, could negate some things, or completely just spin our heads around again and go, surprise, none of this was real. So.
I think it's going to continue to escalate. I think each new hour is just going to completely blow our minds right up until the finale. I really don't think you're going to have any bad episodes. I think they're all going to be.
I think, I definitely agree. And I think it's got us thinking again, like it used to. And I don't think there'll ever be anything really, really. I don't think they're going to make a massive mistake per episode.
No.
There'll be things you'll love in it and theorize about anyway. There might be a couple of moments where you go, "Oh, I'm not sure about that," but all in all, I don't think that at the moment they're not putting the foot wrong.
No, they're doing
everyone's
all right. They're doing all the details right, even down to the stuffed pine weasel in Ben's office.
Well, like I said, since so many people seem to be watching this podcast and then regurgitating that information onto other sites, I'll just say what I've been saying since day one about this new show. It is everything I have wanted to see in a Twin Peaks continuation, but just not in any form I ever was expecting. So,
which is great.
Yeah.
It's lovely, nice, fresh take on things, you know.
Yeah, and I mean, and I never even thought something like this in 2017 could exist. So
it shows you can still pull the rug under us after all these years, David Lynch. Amazing.
But it also goes to show you how lazy other filmmakers are, because it's showing you can do it, but so many people don't do it.
But also, you know, that it's also a testament to the singular vision that is David Lynch. He's a unique artist.
Mm-hmm. And it also goes to show you that if major corporations or studios backed singular visions as opposed to scripts by committee, then maybe we would see more artistic, you know, successes like this.
Agreed.
Well, hopefully this again, like it did when it first ran, you know, it opened the doors for people to do things left field a bit in television. Mm-hmm. You know, and it paved the way for lots of series that we watch now. So there's no reason why that trick will not happen again. I guarantee it will. That people will start taking braver steps and create really interesting television off the back of this.
I remember in the mid-90s, though, I was reading this article, I can't remember from where, but they would say you would never even know Twin Peaks even existed if you look at the landscape of television today. But then you fast forward, you know, and there's 6-7 years, and you start to see the influence on other shows. We talked about Lost last time. So if Twin Peaks, the original series, inspired something like Lost and other long-form storytelling on TV, what is this new show going to inspire in 15 years? Yeah. It's kind of frightening and wondrous to think about that. Like, you know, if people are probably looking at this new show going, well, if you can do this and challenge your audience, and the audience is coming along with you, and all these articles, and it's getting the press, and it's getting the critics, and it's getting the audience, it might inspire other people to push the envelope. The problem is most people pushing the envelope realize they're not David Lynch.
Right. So, you know, new on Hulu, South Dakota exposure.
And neither should they. But that's the thing. You're not going to do anything or have that breathing space and create art if you're going to be, you're not the next David Lynch. That suffocates someone's creativity. You can't be compared to that all the time. Oh, this is David Lynch, or that's Twin Peaks, or you know, that's the problem. That stifles it. You just need to do your own thing. You can be inspired by him, but you don't have to be, you know, try to be like him.
Exactly. Yep. All right, guys, we're going to wrap this one up in plastic. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. Really appreciate it. I know it's late Friday night for most of you, but you guys have stuck with us. And I know it's definitely late for Hal, but
it's late for me. Early, depending on
one thing. Yeah. In closing, in tribute to the character of Denise Bryson and all the LGBTQ Twin Peaks fans watching, because it is Pride Month. So I just want to say to all the clown comics out there, fix your hearts or die.
Fix your hearts or die. I love that line.
I just love the fact that while that's such an inspiring quote and a wonderful thing for Lynch to say, I do love the fact that he throws it in Denise's face after Denise accuses him of taking Tammy along because she's young and 30. So
it's a bittersweet pill, that one.
Yeah, exactly. So you guys, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Be sure to like these videos and share them and continue your support. Make sure to write your theories and comments below. We love hearing them and reading about them. This has been a wonderful night. I can't thank Hal and Frank enough for joining me. It's always wondrous to have you guys on here, and I'm really glad you guys stepped up to the plate and contacted me, because I think our podcasts together are truly blessed.
I love them. Always a pleasure.
Very enjoyable. I love that. The theories as well, and everything that the people on that are sending in as well. It's just wonderful. Because I get, you said a few tonight. I can't remember them now because I don't, you know, but there's a couple there I was going, bloody hell, I never would have thought of that one. You know, it's like it's lovely that, you know, it gets you thinking.
Peaks fans are the best fans.
Yeah,
definitely. And you guys have proved me wrong. I was terrified of this show coming back in the day of social media, but you guys showed me that there are real fans out there that, you know, are not just out there to troll the world. So I appreciate each and every one of you. And we will see you next time. Take care, guys.